Hi, I'm Jack Manifold and I'm a fourth year mechanical engineering student here at Colorado State University. And today I'll be discussing with you the possible implications of introducing more robotic workers, or robots, into the working world. So I'll lead off with a little bit of history of automation. So humans have always been really good at automating certain processes and making our lives a little easier, whether it be learning that fire can cook food well, make it taste better, and make it better for us, to using water power in a water mill to crush grains down into flour to cook into bread. We've always been really good at finding clever solutions to make our lives easier and make us have less work to do. And this idea really got revolutionized by Henry Ford in the 1930s with his idea of the assembly line for automobiles. Previously, automobiles were made by small firms of, 10 guys working to make one car in a month. The assembly line took that same car and put it on track and had one dude with one job. He would be screwing on the tire, attaching the wheel, and then he'd send it on to the next guy. And this greatly increased production and allowed for more cars on the streets and made Henry Ford so much money. But that's enough on history. Let's talk about the different sides on this issue. So there's people who are for the introduction of more robots into the workforce. Those tend to be CEOs and leaders of large companies. And there are people who are against it, which tend to be blue-collar workers, the general public, and leaders of small companies. People who want more robotic workers believe that they're able to increase productivity, have a high quality control value, low margin for error. They're phenomenal in great dangerous environments, and they can actually lead to more jobs being created. Robots are really good at doing one task over and over again and coming out with the same result. So they want to use that in their assemblies to increase production value and make the whole line more efficient, and they'll think they'll make a lot of money doing this. Additionally, they argue that robots are great for going into dangerous environments, such as active landfills, and radioactive locations. So say you need to go do a radiation map of how far Chernobyl leaked radiation in the environment. You can't send a human in there, but you can send a robot in there and they won't get harmed from it, and you still get the data you need. Moving on to the people who are opposed to the robots. So people who are opposed to the robots tend to argue that their jobs are in jeopardy. They're scared of losing their job and being replaced by a printer. I mean, if you go into McDonald's, you can see that in action. It used to be you'd go up to the front desk, the front counter, and you would just place your order. And now you walk up to a kiosk and punch your order into a machine. So they're scared of losing their jobs. They also argue that robots have a reduced flexibility. So they're not as great at adapting on the fly and coming up with their own solutions to problems. Additionally, they argue that robots need more set inputs to do something. So if you've got a robot who's tasked with screwing on a machine, all the screws need to be placed in a small container the same way every time. The robot can't just reach into a bag and grab a screw. So they argue they're not as versatile as human workers. And they also argue that they're not able to improve upon their own work as easily. So robots can do the same thing every time, but a human can do the same thing every time and notice that if they do it like this, it gets a little faster and it gets a little better. Robots just can't do that. They can't problem solve for themselves. That's enough on the sides. Moving over towards a conclusion. There are many positions on this topic, each with their own valid reasoning. However, history shows that automation is inevitable, and robotic workers will become a commonplace in our lives. It's just a truth that we have to accept. But luckily, we don't have to accept it so soon. Technology still has a long way to go before it's everywhere in our lives and, stealing our jobs. So, moving forward, I feel that we need to start integrating more robotic workers with human workers to play off each other's strengths and weaknesses. Robots are really good at doing the heavy lifting, but humans are really good at the problem solving and figuring out how the robots can be doing their job better and doing more versatile jobs. So here's my list of resources and what I use to figure all this information out. And thank you for listening.